And of course, when I moved to Germany, there was no more arepa. That's
Yeah.
what it's called. My whole life changed because I stopped having gas.
Yeah.
I thought that the normal way of living my life was
Yeah.
having a pregnant belly full of gas like all day long. I was like, what is it with me that I feel so light? I feel so great. It was the corn.
Well, that's the thing. I'll tell you, when you do it a proper approach, whole foods, like we're talking, most of our clients stick with it, not because of the weight they lost. That's like a side bonus. It's because of how good they feel. How,
Yeah.
all these digestive issues go away and their skin clears up. And, we have a file of testimonies from clients that's got over 2,000 in there now. And it's literally every kind of condition you can imagine, for everything from Parkinson's to MS to all these things getting big improvements just through diet.
Just
ADHD,
to diet.
autism, all these things where they see marked improvements just with diet changes. So that's why they stick with it. And the thing with keto as well is you get elevated blood ketones when you lower the carbs enough in your diet. That is an alternate fuel for parts like the brain. And the brain really likes running on ketones. Like you get sort of a hyper awareness and you just feel a little more alert, and you don't get that afternoon slump or brain fog, from when you're eating lots of carbs. So you feel really good, and you want to stick with it for that reason as much as anything.
All right.
Actually, the reason why I started like playing with it, which I started and I did it really wrong in the beginning because I had no idea. It was because I had the worst migraines ever. And I read someplace that cutting off carbohydrates and sugar was going to help. So I was like, I went full on, no electrolyte concerns, no nothing. I went just dip into it. First 2 weeks, I felt like I was gonna die.
Yeah.
Maybe you can explain that to us a little bit. I thought that was like the rite of entrance. Like, if I can go through this, I will be able to continue, because I felt great. I really, really felt really good, and I had no migraines whatsoever. And I was like, no, I don't want to lose this.
Yeah.
So I went through it, but maybe you can talk about a little bit about this.
Definitely. So, primarily, almost all the time, that is an electrolyte imbalance. And so what happens is carbohydrates retain water. It's like, I don't know if it's 5 molecules of water that are needed for each molecule of carbohydrate you store in the body. So you're retaining a lot of water. And that, when you eat a lot of carbs, that can also add to the bloating and, water retention and stuff that happens there. When you cut the carbs out, your body flushes out that retained water, which is good. You don't want water retention and too much water retention. But with the water goes electrolytes, sodium, magnesium, potassium. And so what happens is add to that, many people are going from a typical diet, right, to low carb. Well, the typical diet has a ton of sodium in it. McDonald's milkshake has more sodium than the French fries. Okay. Sodium's everywhere. It's crazy. And so when you go to Whole Foods, you start cooking a steak and some, broccoli with it, you need to add salt. It doesn't come with salt, right?
And we are so scared of salt, mostly women. Women eat so bland.
Yeah. And you should, especially when you're eating low carb, because you need to replenish those electrolytes that get flushed out when you lose the water retention. So electrolytes are huge. If somebody's having migraines, I would also put extra emphasis on magnesium, get a quality magnesium glycinate, and take like 400 milligrams in the evening and another 400 milligrams in the morning, because that helps relax blood vessels, and it can help with migraine headaches and migraines and type things. And almost everybody's deficient in magnesium now.
Would you say in the evening or in the morning, or both?
If for the typical person, it's relaxing, and so a lot of people take it in the evening before bed, and it kind of relaxes. It helps relax them and go to sleep. For like a small percentage, like 1 or 2% of people, it's energizing, and so they would need to take it in the morning. But for somebody who, as long as it's not energizing for you, somebody who's got like high blood pressure or migraines, you'd want to do 2 doses, one in the evening and one in the morning, just for those conditions.
Déjenme contarles de nuestro patrocinador DrinkLMNT, que es una bebida de electrolitos que nace de la necesidad de encontrar un producto que llene nuestros requerimientos de hidratación sin el azúcar, los colorantes y los ingredientes de relleno que normalmente encontramos en las bebidas deportivas. DrinkLMNT está cuidadosamente formulado para proporcionarte un balance perfecto de electrolitos que te va a ayudar a tener un desempeño óptimo en tu actividad física, evitar calambres musculares, el salto del ojo, la taquicardia, la moridera y el apelotardamiento causado por la falta de hidratación o por los niveles insuficientes de sodio, potasio y magnesio que pueden ocurrir de manera natural durante el ejercicio, el consumo de café o el exceso de felicidad por el alcohol. Especial para todos aquellos que hagan una dieta baja en carbohidratos, están endulzados con stevia y tienen un rango de sabores espectaculares como naranja, frambuesa y mango chili, entre otros. Su presentación en sobres individuales los hace ideales para viajar. Solo necesitas una botella de agua y un sobrecito de sales de Element para tener todas las bondades físicas y mentales de un balance perfecto de electrolitos. Además de proporcionarme claridad mental y darme el impulso que necesito, tengo que concentrarme en tareas que requieren de toda mi atención. Vete para las notas del episodio y haz clic en el link para hacer tu pedido y a la vez apoyar mi trabajo. Pégale a la sal y disfruta del episodio.
Oh, good to know. Good to know. All right. Now, whenever you go into the internet, dark and scary place, and you type, okay, so I want to know about this keto thing. I want to make some keto stuff, keto chicken. The first thing that you're going to see is lots of cheese, lots of cream, lots of like nut flours, and lots of like super rich, of course, delicious foods. However, what happens if I want to lose weight and I go and follow this?
Yeah. So here's in our book Keto, I did a whole chapter on kind of keto myths, right? And one of the myths is you have to eat lots of fat in the diet to be ketogenic. We talked earlier about, getting 70 or 80% of your calories from fat and these kind of things. Well, there's only one requirement for you to be ketogenic, and that's the dietary carbohydrates need to be low enough. We usually say like 20 grams of carbs a day. You'll be using fat as your primary fuel at that point. Okay.
And when we say 20 grams, that is basically a bunch of veggies. That is like a lot.
And this is the only requirement to be ketogenic. Well, when you start following the bad information, it kind of ignores biology, right? And biology dictates, everybody's different. Everybody's got different hormones, they're different in all the, the way they react to different things. But everybody's not different when it comes to how they process carbohydrates, protein, and fat. Okay. When you eat protein, your body's going to break it into amino acids and use it for building muscle and skin and whatnot. When you eat carbohydrates, it's going to be used as fuel or stored in your muscle or liver. When you eat fat, it gets stored in your fat cells. And so you're ignoring basic biology by saying, if I want to lose body fat, I want my dietary fat to be high, because it's all going into body fat. So it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? And so you shift that and say, okay, what's important? Well, to be ketogenic, you want carbs low. So start there. Keep your carbs low. Now you want enough protein so that you get enough to maintain your body, right? Maintain your muscle, maybe even build a little muscle, maintain skin. So you give a protein goal. That's your goal, how much protein I should eat, because how big I am. It's going to be different for every person. And then fat becomes your only variable, right? So what do you do if you want to lose weight? You dial the dietary fat down. If you want to gain or maintain, you dial it up. It's that simple. And it becomes really
It is that simple
way to live if you get those principles.
It was very difficult for me, I have to say. It was very difficult for me to let go of that one particular magic that I thought. And the things that the bad information tells you, no, if you stop eating, if you eat too much protein, you are going to kick yourself out of ketosis. And ketosis is this magical state in which you are going to eat buttloads of butter and you are going to still lose weight. And if you stop doing that, you are going to start gaining because you lose the ketosis magic.
Well, that's the zealot side of the keto world that we try to avoid with all cost. And one of the things too that I think, again, with my engineering background, I think Ted is the same way. We like to learn and we never stop learning. Okay. We don't get into a position that I'm putting a stake down. This is my position and never leaving it. That kind of zealotry. And so we've changed our position on a few things over the years, just like Ted has. As we learn new things, slight changes in how we look at protein, or how much fat you should have in your diet and all that. But we always follow the science, so we never stick to it just because that's what we said. We even have gone back and had our books revised to get updated information in them, because we didn't have to do that, but we wanted the right information out there.
Exactly. Many people who have started a ketogenic way of eating, they have this statement that goes, okay, so it worked at first, and then it stopped working, and now I'm gonna have to stop doing it because I just came out of the phase where it works, and then it will never work again. What do you have to say about that?
No. So I would say maybe 99% of those people are probably following the bad keto advice, where they're adding lots of fat. And here's what happens. Guess what? You go from, I always say standard American diet, but a typical diet, to anything whole food based. You're gonna lose weight in the beginning, right? You're basically going from the worst possible diet, which is a standard American diet, to something with whole foods and not processed junk, and you're going to lose some weight, but you'll stop if you're not following the biology and principles of how your body works, and leveraging fat, to adjust the fat down so that your body burns more of its own fat for fuel. That's understanding biology, and that is the proper way to do keto. And so many people, because of the bad information, are following a bad way, and it gives them a bad name, because they're like, oh, I tried it, it worked for a while, and then it didn't work.
It's a pity, because it's a waste of that readiness that people do, because making changes in lifestyle, it's hard.
Yep.
And whoever wants to make a change and goes through the steps and runs into bad advice, and that's energy that is wasted, because they could be doing something that actually works. So let's talk a little bit about the plateaus.
Yeah.
Many people run into plateaus, even if they are doing everything. Oh, if they're doing everything right, they're not gonna. But many people happen to stay in maintenance for a very long time. They don't see the weight going down. They don't see the numbers going down, and they start freaking out. There are several tools that I have learned because of you guys. One of those tools that has worked wonders for me is the protein sparing morning fat fast.
Yep.
Can you please tell us about this amazing thing?
We have a number of tools too we start with when that happens. And one thing about plateaus as well, people stall for whatever reason. We don't know why. We don't know why people stall at different times. If they're getting their macros right and they're tracking everything and they're being real accurate about it, sometimes it just happens. A friend of ours, Tyler Cartwright, he stalled for 18 months. That was after he lost his first 100 and something, and he didn't change anything. Kept the same activity, kept the same diet. 18 months later, weight starts falling off again. He lost another 100. So he's where he's at today.
That's insane.
But it's crazy. You don't know why. But there are tools to try to break the stall that can be helpful in kind of pushing over whatever process that is blocking you up to keep the weight going. And usually we start with no dairy and nuts, because those can add up a lot of fat pretty quickly, which is also related to getting your macros right. Make sure you're using that fat as a lever to come down when you want to burn more of your own fat for fuel.
But I think that nuts are way overappreciated in this space.
Those are for cakes on birthdays in our house. Yeah, that's when we use them.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the way it should be. Any treats. It didn't used to be that we ate sugar every day. I remember Little House on the Prairie. Do you know the American TV show Little House?
I loved it. Yes.
Yeah. There was an episode where for Christmas they got to go to the drugstore, the market, whatever they have. I can't remember the name of it. And pick out one piece of candy. That was their Christmas tree, right?
Exactly.
One piece of candy for the year.
Exactly. And that's what it used to be when I was little. I mean, in Colombia, I mean, we didn't have cake. I mean, like we started having like more and more junk food, like increasingly as we got older. But in the beginning, it was not like an everyday thing. You got a cake when it was your birthday, and that was it.
Then the other tool that's in our toolbox, and it's a very powerful one, is the protein sparing modified fast. Protein sparing modified fast, it sounds a little confusing, but if you break it apart, it's a modified fast. So it's modifying a water fast to make it better. And it modifies it by adding protein. And the reason is because if you water only fast, so you fast only drinking water for a day, 2 days, 3 days, you start to lose muscle. There's parts of your body, the red blood cells, brain neurons, certain ones that don't have mitochondria, so they can only burn on glucose. Well, if you're not eating anything, the body has no choice but to make glucose from your protein, gluconeogenesis, and you can consume your own protein, your muscle. And so fast work well for rapid weight loss, but then you're lowering your BMR because you're losing muscle, and nobody wants to lose muscle. So let's modify it and basically have a fasting type environment with almost no carbs and almost no fat, because those are your energy sources, but enough protein for your lean mass. So you get the protein.
So you keep that precious tissue.
Muscle, yeah, maintain your muscle, but drive the fuels way down. So body's like, oh boy, I got to really tap into my fat now and get more fat for fuel because I've lowered the dietary fat down to 20 or 30 grams. So that's where the power of the protein sparing modified fast comes in.
There is a bunch of people that are going to be saying to me, no, Mariana, no, but I do intermittent fasting and I do like 72-hour like water fasts and I'm losing weight.
Yeah, if you lose muscle, it moves the scale. But nobody wants that, and that's the thing that we also, I mean, so many people get tied to the scale and they're just tied to that number. And there's a really great article that I always linked people to that shows, I think it was 16 different examples of women that were the same body weight in their before and after. And, after they've gained muscle and they look real fit, and the difference is night and day, but they're the same body weight. So the scale does not show body composition. It just shows overall weight. So if you're maintaining or even gaining muscle while losing fat, the scale's not going to move. But guess what? You're going in the right direction. You're getting stronger.
It is true.
You're fitter. Your clothes might start fitting better. We make sure people don't focus too much on the scale for that reason.
Yeah, that's what the folks in ketogains they yeah. I mean, like we have body measurements, we have pictures, we use all of those different markers because otherwise people go crazy. And we women, we are like yeah. Our heads are so fixated in those freaking numbers. It's
I have a phone client right now who's a woman that was just trying to get that body definition a little bit. Been working with her, and we got her protein up because she was not eating enough protein, and dialed the fat down a bit. She has kind of wavered between the same 1 or 2 pounds. She's about 130. But if you look at the before after photos, after you can start to see the ab definition. I mean, it's clear,
That's so pretty.
But no change in body weight, right? But she's looking so much better already in like 3 weeks. So.
And you would never know if you were not making progress pictures.
Progress pictures, yeah, same lighting.
Exactly.
Really does. It's a good thing to use to track.
Because even for yourself, I mean, when I have been working really hard with my weight training and with my protein intake and everything, and I make my progress pictures every Sunday.
Yeah.
They look exactly the same thing. They look the exact same thing every single week. But then after months, I take the first one and I look at the last one, and now I see the difference. Yeah.
But yeah, the protein sparing is this wonderful tool, right? And so we started using the chemist in Maria over here to invent recipes that, again, well, let's make a chocolate pudding that's protein sparing because it uses egg white.
That's so awesome! I almost cried when I saw that one. I was like, oh my God, I cannot do
Well, that's the thing, when you talk about, almost no carbs and very little fat and good protein, people think, oh, what is this? Chicken breasts and, they're dry chicken breasts and this and that. So Maria applied her magic to make some really interesting recipes.
that is the thing. I used to have an eating disorder.
Mm,
I was bulimic for a very long time, and I have a weird ass relationship with food.
yeah.
And I cannot bring myself to eat something that doesn't taste good. I just can't, and I won't, and I'm not gonna. So the whole idea of doing a fast like protocol was, for me, was repulsive. Was it was repellent inside of my head, because I had been following Maria for a very long time, and I had her books and keto comfort foods, and oh my god, that was so delicious. But so I was stalling like crazy. So I saw the art of fat loss, and I was like, this is the thing that is going to take me there, because something magical happens. And I have a theory: when you are given certain limitations and then you are told to create something, the brain in a way goes lengths, and
Yeah.
Maria's brain goes like nuclear
Yeah.
when they restrict the amount of ingredients and the amount of things that she is supposed to be able to do to create a recipe. So I don't know how she does it. It's like in that freaking book, every recipe is
So,
worth having.
and with those kind of nutrient profiles, that's not easy to do. I mean, you think about how do you add flavor to typically, how do you add flavor to a recipe? Throw some butter on it, right? Or,
Of course.
fat or some lard. I mean, that's how you do it, right? So to make tasty foods without that is challenging, but she does a great job.
She blew my mind. She
Yeah.
blew my mind. What, I mean, just a personal question for you. What is your favorite recipe from the book?
There's actually a buffalo turkey meatballs. Oh, they're really
Turkey
good.
meatballs. They
Like,
are
we've had
there.
people say this is the new favorite dish in their house, period. So,
They are insane. I made the meatloaf
yeah.
for, I mean, I don't tell my husband what I'm doing, because in the moment that I say that something's healthy, then he's going to be like,
Oh, yeah, that's the big no-no, especially with kids.
yeah.
We'd go up to my wife's in my in-laws cabin, and Maria would make her pancakes, and first thing her mom would say when she'd give them to the kids, these are healthy, I don't know if you're gonna like them. It's like, well, of course they're not now. You don't
Not
tell them.
now.
Don't tell them, and they probably wouldn't know. So,
No, 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 no. The best strategy is just to present it as is
yep,
and see what happens.
yep,
Well, I did my meatloaf with the herbs, with everything. I followed all of the instructions, and I followed all the measurements and everything, and I put it on the dish. And he was like, is that like super lean, like ground meat that you can eat? No, it's gemished. It's like a blend. He ate one piece, and then he ate the second piece, and then he ate a third piece, and I was like, oh yeah. It
yeah,
is incredible how rich it is.
yeah. With that little of fat, it's amazing.
Now, there is one thing that I wanted to say about the book. When we talked with Dr. Neyman, in his book, in the PE diet, he talks about the protein energy ratio of food, and in such elegant way, in way that he presents, like, of course you have to prioritize protein
Yep,
and like bring the energy down,
yep,
which for a person like you or a person like me that have been tracking macros for a very long time, it's like the easiest thing to okay, so I already know what kind of meat I have to have. I already know what kind of, it's easier.
yep,
For the regular person, it is not so easy.
yeah.
And this is like a, of course it is a plug, but I'm telling you guys, this makes your life so much easier, because in the book you're going to have the meal plans. They're going to tell you exactly what to buy, exactly in what proportion,
Oh, sure.
exactly the quantities, how much of each of the things are you going to need, how much leftovers you're going to have depending on how much you are going to cook. And that is everything. That takes away.
Really easy to follow for sure.
I mean, I was blown away. I've had to like follow recipes. Of course, you go into the internet and you follow recipes and everything, but there is always a customizable component of everything where you can go really wrong.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I appreciate your kind words on that. It was a lot of work goes into those kind of ebooks, and between the photography and the, making up the recipes and perfecting them and all that. So I appreciate that.
It was an amazing work, and the meal plans are so beautifully put together. And I just have to say, I am very, very thankful for the opportunity to live in a century where we have this information so available to us. Now, all of the links for the purchase of the book in Spanish are going to be in the description. Before we go, and because I have to let you go already, I want to be respectful of your time.
Yep.
Can you please, Craig, let us know where can people find you? Where can people find more books? When can people find more about you guys?
Well, thank you so much for having me on. This was great. And finding us is pretty easy. It's either Maria Emmerich or Craig Emmerich on social media typically. But you can also go to ketomaria.com. And from there you can get to all of our stuff, all of our social media accounts, all of our blog, and as well as our keto-adapted.com, which is our website where we do support and sell our ebooks and all that kind of stuff. So.
All right. So guys, I want to just remind you that this content is brought to you by this very, very poor translator. And if you would like to buy me some coffee or make sure that I can continue to subtitle this material, please consider becoming a Patreon. Thank you very much.
Hola, me alegra que hayas llegado hasta este punto del video, espero que hayas disfrutado del episodio y espero también que la información que hayamos compartido contigo sea de alguna utilidad para ti o para la gente que quieres. Por favor, no dudes en compartir este video con cualquier persona que crees que pueda beneficiarse de él. En la descripción del video vas a encontrar un link para Patreon. Patreon es una plataforma que hace posible que la gente que quiere apoyar a creadores de contenido como yo pueda seguir haciendo su trabajo y pueda seguir trayendo material de calidad para las personas que están interesadas. Si decides hacer parte de nuestro proyecto convirtiéndote en uno de nuestros Patreons, vas a tener acceso a entrevistas con expertos completas y subtituladas al español, vas a poder tener acceso preferencial a materiales subtitulados, además vas a poder formular preguntas que vamos a contestar o en los episodios o que van a ser contestadas por expertos directamente. Si hay alguna clase de información de la que quieres que nos informemos para que podamos traerla y hacerla asequible a ti en tu idioma, por favor no dudes en dejarnos saber por medio de nuestra página en Instagram o en los comentarios de los videos, que dependiendo de qué sea vamos a estar muy contentos de ayudarte y vamos a estar muy contentos de empaparnos del tema para poder traerlo y hacerlo asequible para ti en tu idioma. Si no puedes apoyarnos con un aporte mensual en Patreon, nos vas a ayudar muchísimo si te suscribes al canal, activas el botoncito de notificaciones para que no te pierdas ninguno de nuestros futuros episodios y que compartas esta información con quien creas que puede beneficiarse de ella. Vamos a estar muy agradecidos de cualquier forma que puedas ayudar. Quédate en el canal, explora otros temas, no olvides nunca comer entero, no comas cuento y autorregúlate.